Extinguishing the Fires, Chapter 1. The Fire of Greed. The nature of greed is wanting. We want to have, want to get, and want to be. Except for when we are sleeping soundly, the fire of greed burns our eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and body, as the occasion to burn each arises. When the fire of greed burns the heart, extreme mental pain can sometimes be our experience. The fire of greed is something that has been experienced by everyone. In line with our nature as human beings, we cannot simply close our eyes and thus prevent the fire of greed from ever burning us. It is impossible to do so, as we have to open our eyes as we go on about our daily lives. But what do we do now that the law of karma has produced the result of us having two eyes? When our eyes seem deficient, we can fortify them with vitamins, special diets, and eyeglasses. Not only that, as modern technology has allowed for additional improvements to our eyesight, yet no matter how good our eyesight might be, it's of no benefit if our wisdom eye is blinded every time the fire of greed burns our eyes. For the most part, greed arises as soon as our eyes encounter a desirable object. Advertisers recognize this, of course, as new products are constantly being developed and displayed in ways intended to stimulate the interests of prospective consumers. Indeed, a well-executed advertisement accomplishes its goal of getting people to attach to the product, thinking it's very good and therefore worthy of pursuit and acquisition. Little do the customers know, but the fire of greed is burning them every time this happens. This fire does not merely apply to the pursuit of material things. Human beings are prone to adorning 15 venerable Ajahn Chaya themselves, with jewelry and stylish clothes, intended to get other humans to become attached to their appearance. Can we begin to see how the fire of attachment is ceaselessly burning us when we lack mindfulness and wisdom? As long as its fuel is present, the fire of greed gains momentum and accelerates. As we wish to get, gain, or be, our thoughts, words, and actions reflect these desires. And for this reason, the lives of beings persist, over and over and over, flowing, floating, and drowning in the tumultuous ocean that is the cycle of birth and death in which many kinds of sufferings must be endured. To our great fortune, the omniscient Buddha saw the endless sufferings of beings, and with great compassion, he taught us the way to overcome it. How do we extinguish the fire of greed? To avoid this type of burning, we need to stay away from the fuel we call sensual objects, as protecting is better than curing. To their detriment, most people instead fuel this fire by feeding their eyes with movies, concerts, and other attractive things, without realizing that unwholesome consciousness is arising in their hearts. Meditators with spiritual goals can see that this sort of behavior is a waste of money and time, whereas ordinary people see it as a pleasant way to enjoy their lives. Whenever we come across something or someone, we should use our wise attention to prevent the fire of greed from arising. The body, and all other things that we see, are subject to change. When we see an attractive body, we should wisely consider it from head to toe as being filled with impurities. Ours is no different. 16. Extinguishing the fires. By contemplating on these impurities, we can reduce, and to a certain degree, even stop sensual desires from arising. In time, we can use insight knowledge to eliminate the fire of greed. Nothing in this world lasts forever. Everything is always changing in line with its nature. Whatever appears eventually disappears. When we practice meditation, we can see the constant changing of mind and matter with every moment. We will recognize that this is unsatisfactory and uncontrollable. When we understand these facts, we will begin to relate to what we're seeing in a way that prevents the fire of greed from burning our eyes. We will realize that psychophysical phenomena are simply performing their duties in accordance with cause and effect and will ultimately disappear in the end. As this is the nature of all conditioned things, we should not attach to anything in this world. No matter how desirable a visible object may be, there will be no room for greed to arise when we see with wisdom. If we keep practicing in this way, we will know for ourselves the truth of which I speak. I strongly recommend that you try. Fire is burning our ears too. When the occasion arises that we hear something that we like, the fire of greed begins to burn our ears. As is our human nature, we go through every day following the 5 sensual objects without end. We go searching for things we haven't found, and we attach the moment we find what we want. Still, it's not enough. Lacking contentment, we want more and more, again and again. 17. Venerable Ajahn Chaya. It doesn't stop there. We also desire new things. Overcome by the power of our craving, we search and strive for one new object after another, tirelessly and without end. After a hard day of work, in the evenings we lay the body down for a rest. Really, though, it's just the physical body that is resting, because the mind is constantly imagining, thinking, and planning what to do next. Perhaps we can consider that it's just releasing smoke in the evenings, as by the following day the fire of greed is burning again as we pursue the objects of the previous night's thinking and planning. Under the torment of this fire of greed, we have to tiredly work, talk, and think our way through our daily routines with stress. With the fire of greed still alive in our hearts, one day our life comes to an end. Generally, the fire of greed ignites as soon as we hear a pleasant sound. Because they fail to recognize this situation as a fire, most people waste their precious time, money, and energy doing things like listening to sweet songs. The comfortable pleasure they bring is just temporary. The same is true of lepers warming their legs and hands next to a fire to relieve their itching. In order to serve their craving, warm their leprosy, people collect all manner of instruments and implements at home. Of course, I'm comparing leprosy to greed, and lepers to those who are greedy. When the leprosy bacteria bites, the leprosy becomes itchy. Likewise, when craving has arisen, and there is an attendant feeling of discomfort at its being unfulfilled, the craving must immediately be served by sensual objects to bring relief. In that way, we are just like lepers, who must immediately warm our legs 18, extinguishing the fires and hands at a fire, when we feel the itch of the leprosy biting us. Sometimes, finding relief in the enjoyment of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, and touching at home is insufficient to satisfy us, so we wander out in search of restaurants, concerts, and other stimulants to alleviate our craving. The fire of greed burns the nose. The fire spreads and burns every day, everywhere. When we encounter fragrant things like flowers and perfumes, the fire of greed immediately ignites at the nose. We want to enjoy and have more of these pleasant scents, so our attachment leads us in search of expensive colognes and other things to satiate us. Can you see how the fire of greed doesn't only burn the nose? It also burns up our cash and credit cards. But without realizing that we are being burned by fire, we work so hard to replenish the money we are losing. Have you ever noticed how the scent of a certain perfume may be splendid to you but awful to someone else? We should take great care, recognizing that all material things serve mostly as fuels of greed. The more of them we have, the more incessant the burning felt by those who are greedy. Some people may also feel great pride in their ability to afford so many expensive and wondrous things. The wise recognize that pride and ego are defilements. There's fire on the tongue. It's burned many times a day by greed as we take 3 or 4 big meals each day. In between these big meals, we snack and consume tasty beverages. We've been enjoying the taste of food for many, many lifetimes. To serve that enjoyment, some people stock more than one refrigerator with food. 19 Venerable Ajahn Chaya supplies. Little do they know that craving the enjoyment of food and drink is unwholesome consciousness. The fact that enjoyment of food is craving was not known to the world until the Buddha pointed it out. Failure to understand the truth of the fire of greed will keep the tongue burning continually. Fire also burns the body. It burns the whole body as we attach to the clothes and jewelry we adorn, having worked so hard to pay for these accoutrements. Clothes and jewelry aside, we attach to the touch of our body and the bodies of others as well. Failure to control this fire of greed often leads to family problems, fighting, arguing, hating, and, in extreme cases, killing. The fire of greed leads to shameful, disgusting behavior, and people becoming unfit for civilized society. Unfair and unlawful actions not only sometimes send violators to prison, but may also cause rebirth in a state of misery. Can you see how the fire of greed burning the body can have both physical and mental repercussions in this life and the next? The fire of greed burns the heart as well. It's not just limited to the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and body. As we reflect on past successes, be it love affairs, or perhaps educational or economic triumphs, pride, smiling, or delight may arise. This is fire burning the heart. We often think about and imagine the future, with perhaps elevated goals like a next life full of riches in the heavens. But this too is just the fire of greed. It's burning our heart. If we are careless and just allow the fire of greed to burn the six sense spaces every day without reprieve, we may actually find ourselves burned in the hell of a future life. 20.